Imposter syndrome is a very real and destructive form of self-doubt that affect high-achieving people, especially women, and can totally derail your career or destroy your business if left to run rampant. In over a decade of coaching some of the world's most brilliant and talented women, and if you're watching this, you know exactly who you are, one of the biggest career killers isn't skill set or expertise or even the now famous emotional intelligence. It is the negative internal self-talk, particularly the imposter syndrome. Even the one and only Michelle O talks about her own personal struggles with imposter syndrome in her book, Becoming. And you know what? Enough is enough. It is absolute ridiculousness. I have had enough, haven't you? We're gonna put a stop to this insanity. So stay tuned for practical tips on how you can obliterate the imposter syndrome so that you can stop getting in your own way, stop feeling stressed, stop being anxious, stop doubting and blocking your brilliance, stop comparing yourself to others, stop the analysis paralysis, and my God, stop waiting for permission so that you can get on with the business of crushing your goals and owning your power. Let's do this. This is Keisha, your career and business confidence coach, equipping you to win by owning your inherent brilliance, eliminating your shrinking tendencies so that you can dominate in your field or in your industry. Click on the subscribe button below as well as the bell so that you will be notified of when I upload my weekly Wednesday videos. And click on the link in the description below so that you can obtain a copy of my free ebook, 10 confidence building strategies that you can implement now. Before I get into the tips, we need to understand exactly what imposter syndrome is. Imposter syndrome is a term that was coined all the way back in 1978, historically by two American female psychologists. It is this feeling of phoniness, not being good enough, or a sense of not belonging in people who believe that they are not intelligent, capable, or creative enough despite evidence of high achievement. So it's not based on fact. It is usually apparent in very high level achievers. It is said that up to 70% of the population experiences at one time or the other. So it is not a completely weird, out of the norm phenomenon. It's absolutely normal, and it is especially prevalent in high performers. If you feel this way, know that you are in the company of giants. People such as Sonia Sotomayor, Maya Angelou, we talked about Michelle Obama, Sheryl Sandberg, Serena Williams, Ariana Huffington have all felt this way at one time or the other. And just like them, you can learn to rise above it to achieve your personal or professional aspirations. So let's get into the strategies. The number one way to overcome imposter syndrome is to rewrite your mental script. You see, we've all received messages from childhood all the way through adulthood that feed us with certain negative belief system in terms of what we can achieve and what we can accomplish. Many of these messages come from prominent adult figures in our lives, whether or not they're teachers or parents, people we went to church with, or other people in our community, as well as messages from the society at large, even from media. To give you a personal example, somehow I received this message that I was never going to be really good at math. I have no idea if it was a specific teacher that said that to me, but I had this belief system. And unfortunately, this belief system affected me to such a point that I almost blocked a very important career move in my life early in my 20s. When a manager reached out to me and offered me a job that I knew would require a lot of mathematical and analytical skills, and I said I wasn't interested. Luckily, that manager pursued me long enough for me to have a mental shift, accept the job, and that role was one of the things that accelerated my careers the fastest. So identify what's one major negative script that you have been playing in your mind over and over again or repeating to yourself on a regular basis, and literally say the exact opposite of it. Repeat it out loud or write it down or constantly think about it. When the negative message comes to your mind, repeat and think about and write down the exact opposite. The purpose of doing this is to rewire and reprogram our brain. Through neuroplasticity, we have the ability to undo and rewire new neural pathways in our brains so that we can make the progress and the accomplishments that we want. So write down, think about, repeat out loud the exact opposite until you have built a new neural pathway that will give you an empowering thought that will help you to achieve the goals that you want to accomplish. Tip number 2 is to create a success journal. Write down a list of all the accomplishments that you can think of that you've had in the past, but don't stop there. Write also down all the qualities that you had to display and to utilize in order to accomplish those goals. It could be that you were able to learn quickly. It could also mean that you were very resilient, that when you encountered negative situations, you got back up again and you kept going, you were persistent, you were determined. Whatever those qualities are, recognize that you still have those qualities. And while you may not know how to do something well right now, those qualities, the character that you actually currently have, will enable you to be resourceful enough to figure out how to achieve the thing that you need to accomplish. Sometimes we think too much about whether or not we have a specific skill, and we don't realize it wasn't just the skill, it wasn't just the expertise that allows us to succeed in the past and will continue to allow us to succeed. It could be our work ethic, it could be our determination, it could be our grit. So I want you to write down the things that you've accomplished as well as the characteristics that you displayed that was able to help you to succeed in the past, knowing that the thing that allowed you to succeed in the past, those same characteristics will allow you to succeed in the future. Tip number 3 is to see the humanity of giants. That is to see their imperfection. Now, this is not an excuse to start bashing people and looking at their imperfections and holding it against them. It is actually to take people off of a pedestal. Every time we look at somebody great and we think, oh, they're so amazing and they're so exceptional and that's why they were able to make it, we tend to use it as an excuse saying, oh, they're exceptional, so we're not exceptional. They can do it, therefore we can't do it. But when we see their humanity and recognize that they're actually not perfect, that they're just a normal person like you and me, it will remove the barrier from us being able to envision ourselves in that position. I have made it a personal project over the last 2 to 3 years in particular to pay attention to CEOs, to vice presidents, to presidents, and to say, oh, what are they doing that is actually wrong or doesn't work, and how have they responded to it? What I have noticed is that the difference between people who excel and advance and the people who remain stuck is a response. The ones that are consistently going ahead, they allow the mistake, they learn from it first of all, they take it as valuable information and they move on, they let it roll off their back. However, the people that remain stuck play the negative situation over and over and over again in their brain. And then they don't move forward because they begin to get stuck in shame, in self-doubt, and they berate themselves. A perfect example that I have of this is I was working with an executive and he actually said something that was so offensive in the organization. And I picked up the phone and I called him after this big meeting and I said, look, this was a disaster. This is a complete public relations nightmare for your entire organization. And you know what I respect about the guy? He didn't hesitate. He didn't blink. He didn't beat himself up. He said, look, that was not my intention. Clearly, the intention of what I said and the impacts were misaligned. So we're going to jump back on and we're going to do a conference call and I'm going to apologize to everyone. Now, this was like at least 50 plus people. He got back on the conference call. He apologized to everyone. And then he gained the respect of the people he apologized to, and he quickly moved on. He never thought about it over and over again. He didn't beat himself up. And so that's what I want you to do. Pay attention to when leaders that you admire, or even celebrities or CEOs that you respect, when they make mistakes, how do they respond to it? And notice the difference between how they respond to it and how you normally respond. And ensure that you're adapting some of these lessons that you learned from those situations. Tip number 4 is to operate in your genius. Do not live someone else's life or live out someone else's expectation of you. This could be parents, family, friends, spouse. It doesn't matter. You cannot have a square peg trying to fit into a round hole. Is that how you say it? Because I'm always trying to say like expressions and idioms, and I like never ever get it right. So if I got it wrong, type in the comments below. But as I was saying, have the courage to live your own life, to pursue your own passions, and to live life according to the values that you have. If you do what you're good at, you will end up boosting your confidence and your level of happiness. When you operate in your genius, your gifts will flow and it will never feel forced. If you want more information on how to overcome self-doubt in business, your career, or life in general, check out some of my other videos on the topic. There's one on perfectionism and another one that will be coming up next week on fear. But I'm curious to know which one of the strategies that we discussed today was completely new to you, never heard it before, and you are totally excited in trying out. Type it in the comments below. In closing, my fellow brilliant ladies, I challenge you to rise up, shake off this ridiculous imposter syndrome, and take your rightful places of leadership and authority. Because there is a serious gap in business, in politics, whatever is your jam, that only you can fill. You, my love, are not an imposter. You are the real deal. It is time for you to know it, to live it, to act like it, to be it. I know you can do this. I want to see you do this. So let's go. And bye for now. See you next week.